Sawadee good evening. Welcome to Thai PBS English News Service. Tonight you're with me, Rungtip Chonapalai. Southern violence is the second issue on top of last year's flooding that prompts discussion between Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra and opposition leader Abhisit Vejchajiva. Responding to the unrest in the far south, Abhisit led his group of Democrat MPs to the government house today to hold talks with government executives and the chief army commander on ways to solve the perennial turmoil. Earlier on, opposition leader Abhisit Vejchajiva met with his Democrat MPs, the three restive southern provinces, and came up with 9 suggestions for the government. The first suggestion was to follow the advice from His Majesty the King to have understanding, reach out and develop. The second was to have political policy-led military measures. The third was to terminate the use of the 2 special laws and replace them with the Security Act. The fourth was to stop using military forces from outside the area. The fifth suggestion was to promote and encourage more locals to work in the civil sector. The sixth was to let the southern border provinces administrative center play a central role in developing the area. The seventh was to have the government compensate civilians, police officials and military personnel who were affected by the insurgency. The eighth was to not establish any special administrative zones or Pattani municipality or elect governors in the 3 southern provinces. The ninth and last suggestion was to have the Prime Minister become accountable for the development and rectification of the restive south. Around 400 Muslim protesters staged a demonstration outside the U.S. Embassy in Bangkok today in the latest show of anger against the controversial film Innocence of Muslims. The protesters from a group called the International Al-Quds Federation of Thailand chanted and held banners reading, "We love Prophet Muhammad." 300 police were on duty to provide security. Though the population of Thailand is 90% Buddhist, in the south of the country there are 3 Muslim majority provinces. The American-made film Innocence of Muslims ridicules Islam and depicts the Prophet Muhammad as a fraud, a womanizer and a madman. The low-budget movie has prompted violent protests against U.S. embassies and other targets in several countries. The U.S. ambassador to Libya was killed along with 3 other staff members last week during an attack on the U.S. consulate in Benghazi. Muslims in Srinagar city of India's northern Jammu and Kashmir state also took the streets today to protest over the controversial film mocking the Prophet Muhammad.
Muslims in Srinagar city of India's northern Jammu and Kashmir state also took to the streets today to protest over the controversial film mocking the Prophet Muhammad. These protesters say that this film has insulted their holy Prophet Muhammad and they are protesting for him. If they have to sacrifice their life, they will do it. The short film, made with private funds in the United States and posted on the internet, has ignited days of demonstrations in the Arab world, Africa, Asia, and in some Western countries. The identity of those directly responsible for the film remains unclear. Clips posted online since July have been attributed to a man named Sam Basil, which 2 people connected with the film have said was probably an alias. A group of activists in Cairo, following the move by the Egyptian embassy in the United States, are individually attempting to take legal action against the filmmakers. Muhammad Al-Damati, deputy head Egyptian bar syndicate, says there were lawsuits filed here in Egypt against those who worked on the film, although some of them are Egyptians. They will stand trial here, even if they get sentenced in absentia. Hence, any of them will be detained on their arrival in Egypt. However, legal experts doubt that the trial in the United States will succeed. At a press conference this week, U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton announced that such acts, despite being distasteful, cannot be punished under the law due to protections by the U.S. Constitution on freedom of expression. Egyptians say they also value freedom of expression, but not when it insults their religion. This Cairo resident says that the U.S. wants to talk about human rights, but where is that and the freedom of expression? Where is the respect of belief and religion? Isn't this considered racism? Isn't this against human rights? We must unite together and create a proper response. Nicola Basili Nicola, 55, a Coptic Christian, widely linked to the film in media reports, was questioned in California on Saturday by U.S. authorities investigating possible violations of his probation for a bank fraud conviction.
Rain continues to fall in many provinces throughout the nation, causing floods of residential areas, and water from Sukhothai province is now flowing through the Sapanjan water drainage gate into Phitsanulok province. It is predicted that 3 districts in Phitsanulok province will be flooded till November. Water from Sukhothai province is passing through the Sapanjan water drainage gate, causing floods in Bangrakam, Prompiram and Mueang districts of Phitsanulok province, and this flooding might last as long as into November. Water from Sukhothai and Phitsanulok province has also caused floods in Samngam, Po Pratap Chang, Bung Narang and Po Thale districts in Phichit province. In Nakhon Sawan province, Lat Yao, Krokpa and Mueang districts are flooded. Residents of the Talat Mai community have had to evacuate onto disused railway embankments to escape their heavily flooded houses. Persistent rain in Tak province has caused a landslide which cracked the walls of the Ban Pradok school buildings. Officials are at the scene of assess the damage. In central Thailand, the water level in the Chao Phraya reservoir has been reduced after authorities released water from the Chao Phraya dam. The irrigation department has strengthened the earth dikes along the river banks in Bang Ban and Pak Hai districts of Ayutthaya province because most of the paddy fields in the area contain rice nearly ready for harvest. Ang Thong province saw floods in Pa Lok and Mueang districts, while heavy rain has caused flooding in the rice fields of Ratchaburi province. In eastern Thailand, Chonburi province has been proclaimed a disaster zone as heavy rain continues to cause flooding, which has inundated more than 100 households in Pan Thong, Kot Chan, Panatnikhom and Bo Thong districts. This Thursday, the government will announce a list of companies that have passed the first round qualification test in the bid of the state's 300 billion baht worth of water management projects. Some bidding companies are of the opinion that the government needs to amend some laws, particularly relating to land expropriation, to make construction projects more efficient.
At present, there are 34 companies interested in bidding for the state's water management construction projects, and most of them are Chinese firms. One of the Thai contractors showing interest is Southeast Asia Technology, or CTEC, in collaboration with other Thai construction companies, namely MDX and GMS. Subin Bin Khayan, advisor to the CTEC company, believes that a thorough study of the water management project has to be completed before it actually gets underway. He admitted that the 5-year time frame for the project to be completed is a challenge. Subin noted that the government has to expropriate land for water diversion areas from Nakhon Sawan province all the way to the Gulf of Thailand, a distance of no less than 1,200 kilometers. Therefore, it is necessary that the government amend the law on land expropriation to create flexibility and efficiency during construction. Meanwhile, CTEC company also proposed the construction of public roads with canals crossing these roads at 19 places, coupled with a development plan that makes good use of the land, such as building utilities, industrial estates and residential areas on it. According to the company, this project will bring in revenue of around 4 to 5 trillion baht within the next 10 years. This Thursday, September 20th, the commission responsible for the Terms of Reference, or TOR, will submit all the 34 interested companies to review the first round qualification test results. The commission will announce the companies that pass the final round of selection on September 24th.
Global economic instability is causing unpredictability in the prices of agricultural goods. Earlier, I spoke to Dr. Jaruk Singhapricha, Dean of the Faculty of Economics at Kasetsart University, who stressed that the government must develop a long-term strategy policy to stabilize the prices of agricultural products while providing a better living for farmers.
Should try to encourage the farmer to to improve their productivity rather than to increase the land, because we're quite limited right now. We cannot do that.
Do we have to do zoning?
Well, that idea is quite good, but it's not suitable for the the Thailand's agriculture, because we just follow the past pathway, and then the farmer, they don't change at all now.
Right, but it's not just with rice, but other products in Thailand. You think that in the long term, what do we have to do?
I think the government should, to create some industry to support, to buy the inputs from the agricultural sector that can sustain, the economic development in the long run. Yeah.
Maybe they can have the value added into the products,
yes,
such as?
That's the good way. I mean, because if you look at our neighbor country like Malaysia, Singapore, they try to encourage people to do some kind of the agro industry rather than the industry
itself.
Yeah.
So like the rubber prices that right now it is suitable for the agricultures.
You mean the price right now?
Yes.
Well, actually, the price is hit, I think, 88 baht, right? But I think the farmer is not satisfied with this price. But I think it's quite hard during this period, because the Europe economics is not so well. Even though there are some signal that it's quite improved a lot, but we still concerned about the world economic, and I don't believe that it will hit like 120 as many people want to have like that.
So that's
price.
A far-fetched. It still take time.
It takes time. I think not in the short time. Perhaps next year.
The Senate has voted 40-95 not to impeach Suthep Suban as proposed by the National Anti-Corruption Commission, which concluded that the Democratic MP had intervened in the work of the Culture Ministry while he was the Deputy Prime Minister. The Senate's decision means that Suthep retains his MP position and avoids a 5-year ban from politics. At the Senate special meeting today, senators voted 40-95 not to retroactively remove Suthep Suban from the Deputy Prime Minister position and refrained from banning him from politics for 5 years. Earlier on, the National Anti-Corruption Commission concluded that the Democrat MP should be stripped of his Deputy Prime Minister post and ban him from politics for 5 years and allegedly intervening in the work of the Culture Ministry during the Apisit Vechachiwa administration. Out of the 139 senators in attendance, 3 did not cast their votes and 1 abstained. According to Article 274, Section 1 of the Constitution, an impeachment case requires the votes of 3/5 of the total number of senators, or 88 out of 146. Therefore, the Senate's decision today means that Suthep will not be retroactively stripped of his Deputy Prime Minister post and will not be banned from politics for 5 years, as was demanded by the National Anti-Corruption Commission. Dozens of protesters shouted and burned Japanese emblems outside the Japanese consulate in Hong Kong today, whilst around 100 demonstrators also gathered in eastern China's Chengdu city to protest against Japan's move to take control of a chain of islands which both countries claim.
因为日本所谓的各岛捞剧，对中国人民来说都是非常气愤的。
Li Yunpeng, 19-year-old college student, says they are angry with Japan's buying the Diaoyu Islands and they can't accept it. Today is the September 18th anniversary, and he thinks it is the best way to express their anger to have this anti-Japan protest here. He hopes the government can work with Taiwan to take back the Diaoyu Islands. Several of the Hong Kong protesters outside the Japanese consulate today had planned to set sail for the islands, called Diaoyu in Chinese and Senkaku in Japanese. But following an inspection on Monday, Hong Kong authorities have yet to confirm that their boat is fit for the voyage. Activists from Hong Kong's Action Committee for Defending the Diaoyu Thai Islands said. Chinese protesters took to the streets in Shanghai's downtown area as well today, in protest against Japan's stance. Police soon surrounded the crowd to stop them from marching to the building that houses the Japanese consulate, and buses were brought in to ferry the protesters directly to the embassy. The protesters were first forced onto the buses, but they soon cooperated and were later seen waving Chinese flags as they set off. There were anti-Japan protests in several cities as China marked the anniversary of a 1931 incident that Japan used as a pretext to invade Manchuria before World War II. In many provinces, including Liaoning, Gansu, Yunnan, Sichuan, and Anhui, local governments sounded sirens at 9:18 a.m. to mark the September 18th anniversary. China's authoritarian government rarely allows protests, and the wave of anti-Japanese demonstrations clearly received a high degree of official approval. Some state media urged Chinese to show their patriotism by boycotting Japanese goods and canceling travel to Japan. Hundreds of Japanese shops and restaurants suspended services in China today as anti-Japan protests reignited and risked dragging a territorial dispute between Asia's two biggest economies deeper into crisis. China's worst outbreak of anti-Japan sentiment in decades had led to protests and attacks on Japanese companies, such as car makers Toyota and Honda, forcing them to halt operations. Japan also has seen a surge of nationalism over the dispute. Its Coast Guard said today that it was questioning two Japanese who landed on one of the islands. Coast Guard official Yuji Sakanaka said it was unclear why the two landed. A Coast Guard vessel issued a warning to a Chinese vessel near the islands early on Tuesday, but officials said they could not confirm reports in Chinese state media that more than 1,000 Chinese fishing boats were headed toward the East China Sea Island group.
And that wraps up tonight's edition of Thai PBS English News Service. Thank you for watching. I'm Rungtip Chonapalai. Have a good night. สวัสดีค่ะ